Hi everyone.
It was
Ron
unlike
here of Variable Play. I haven't fixed our audio.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, because uh,
yeah. The
yeah,
copyright AI is after us.
Yep.
the copyright AI is after us. But I have a solution for it. Let me just share our stream. Hold on, and then I will show you. Actually, I can load my anti copyright AI technology with another AI technology to generate. Ah, this audio is first time heard and it's generated on the fly. You
Wow,
guys can hear
really?
it. Yeah, so we're already in the topic of AI anyway. So it's kind of there. Can I? Oh yeah, cool, cool, cool. So I can put it in the background. It's there, but let me just show what it looks like. So this is Larny Endless Music. You can change how it works. So you can change the styling, and then it will load some samples. It will start to create the mix, and then you can change different parameters.
Mhm. That's cool.
So, but all of these are AI generated. Never been heard before.
Mm,
First time people are hearing it. So, so you can
that's
use
cool.
that actually as your background music.
Mm, mm,
Um, so
mm.
that will be our background music while we discuss. Go back to our normal. So, kasi lagi na lang akong, I'm sure you guys see it. We always get flagged
Mhm,
by some copyright snipers.
mhm.
They copyrighted the background music of StreamYard itself. So which is pretty annoying
Oh,
because
wow.
and then started going back to our content that was published months and months ago. So
Mhm,
it's like it doesn't make sense, but
mhm,
whatever,
mhm,
it is how the world works. So you just complain and sort of contest. We're not getting banned, so I'm guessing we're okay.
mhm, mhm,
So, but yeah, today our topic is going to be about artificial intelligence. But
mhm.
before we get to that, Happy New Year, everyone!
Happy New Year.
Well, welcome back to the very first episode for 2023
Mhm,
of LarongAtin. Unang tumama ang Wednesday, bukas ang Variable Play. Um,
mhm.
and yun, it's how was your uh, holiday season? Did you actually get to rest, or was it as you know?
Mhm. Ay, hello? Good.
Yep.
Okay. Well, kami, we're in Baguio. We were supposed to go up on the 21st, but I had so much work to do, hindi ko natapos. We went up on Christmas Day, 25, para walang traffic. And yet, dami pa ring traffic. So we'll be here until the end of the week, January 8th. So, yun, I've been working a lot. Mabuti yung work ko, right? I'm freelancing as a book layout artist. So, at least that I just
Nice.
need my computer. Um, Yun, yeah, so still very busy, but at least, on I can do it on my own time right now. So yeah.
Cool.
Mm.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir,
well, I
Freddy.
got to play New Year's Eve. I got to play Azul with my kids.
Mm.
Ah,
Yeah,
this is
Oh,
the big
playing.
Azul,
yeah, the giant Azul. Yun yung
Ah,
the
nilaro
giant
namin.
Azul.
Yeah.
Nice.
we yeah we.
So, ano siya? Well, actually, hindi siya kasya sa table, so we played on the floor.
Gano'n siya kalaki.
Isipin mo every
Kailangan
player
na
has their
magse-set
own
up ng
playmat eh.
tiles.
Tapos yung gitna pa, meron pang gitna na kailangan ng mga tiles, di ba? So medyo matakaw siya sa space for 4 players. Kaya ganun.
We've
Sahig na lang.
here in Baguio actually we've been playing a lot. A lot of Wingspan. Medyo na-addict yung mga tao sa Wingspan dito. Siguro like some people, I've played maybe 4 games. Some people here have played maybe up to 10 games of Wingspan na. Kasi me and I have to take care of the kids, so we're not able to join every game. And yun, with the expansions, wala except for this Southeast Asian expansion. So, di pa namin nakita yung Philippine Eagle. We also played Two Rooms and a Boom. We played Blank Slate, which just to end the day. We played My Star. What else did we play? My Star, Two Rooms and a Boom. We're trying to fit a game of Trajan. Kasi when I played Trajan last time, we got some rules wrong. So we're gonna probably try to play it again. Yun, some of Aya's relatives played Lords of Waterdeep pero hindi kami nakasali. But yun, they're actually they're right outside. They're playing Wingspan now. So yeah.
Nice. Okay. Me, yeah, busy. It feels like sometimes holidays don't feel like holidays. they're
Yeah.
just they're just very busy. Um, I tried to get some design work going. Tried to get some gaming going. I think I was able to play naman. We did have a game day. But hindi kami ganun karami. Pero we were able to play um, the Ayla and something shiny. It's this um, it's technically a solo game, but it's like a big box with lots of different chapter boxes that you open up. But it's card driven, and the way it works is you will you have Ayla. She's a rabbit, and then she's being helped by a tree, and you draw sort of an encounter card, and then the card it will have like A, B, and C, or A and B. But you have choices, and then based on the choices, you will uh, choose decide kung you want this resource, or if you have this resource, then you can do that. Pero it will show arrows whether it's gonna go to the future pile or go to the past. So if you decide to like take, for example, oh, I want the books. Okay, we'll get the books, but it will go away na. Hindi na siya babalik. Parang yun na yung card. And then sometimes it will say, oh, take this card. So we'll draw a card from uh, the another deck and add it to the future. So what happens is you now um, encounter that new thing that was added to your future. And we'll have funny things like, for example, may encounter kami, there's this squirrel naglilimos, nangingi ng pera, pero wala kaming pera nun. So, it goes to the future, babalikan ka niya, maglilimos na naman siya ulit. Hanggang mabayaran mo siya. Pag binayaran mo siya, alis na siya. Pero may idadagdag siyang card. So ngayon, parang yung madadagdag na card, di mo pa alam. So, yeah, babalikan ka ano, magpapasalamat pala sa'yo, and then whatever. So yun, very interesting. It's supposed to be solo, but we played it as a group. So, because
okay.
I always wanted to play the game. Nanghihinayang ako that I'll just be enjoying it alone. So, yun, we had fun playing that over the holidays. So yun. So today, we will be talking about artificial intelligence and how it's taking over the world.
Yep. It's
There's
gonna
some truth
happen.
to that.
Gonna happen.
There's definitely some truth to that. Um, whether it's gonna be a bad takeover or something pretty cool, it would be, I guess. I don't know. Is it up to the humans to decide? Well, it depends on how well we manage the curve. But in the meantime, while it's not yet there, while Skynet is not yet fully awake, uh, we could definitely have fun. And I just showed you guys a while ago AI background music generator. So it's just taking different samples, um, aware to how to build them into a loop, how to mix them in. So dun pa lang, parang if you have copyright issues with background music, you can run through that, record that, pipe that in as a live audio, and then suddenly you now have your original, never, well, quote unquote original. So here we go back to the issues of um how AI was modeled and things like ano yung most recent na ano, they disqualified some artists for IP or for copyright because something parang you can't copyright something that wasn't created by humans.
I, I I don't know about that. No, that
Yeah, so
I heard about that, but I don't know any recent. Pero parang there was like months ago when it was new.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yun yung
So
parang may sphere, di ba? May parang white sphere. Yun ba yun?
And I think yung ganitong discussions, whether it be on game design or just AI in particular or in general pala, uh, we have to have these discussions now
yeah.
before AI takes over. Because at the end of the day, it is humans who will determine kung ano yung parameters or yung values na gagamitin ng AI, eh,
Yeah.
'di ba? So unless we have a common idea or nag-agree tayong lahat na ito yung parameters, ito yung ethics na gagamitin natin when we're dealing with AI, uh, even in our own little sphere of game design, eh, there's a big chance that m- mawalan tayo ng control.
Mhm.
So, while it's while wala pa yung singularity, we have to
Mhm.
determine these values, 'di ba? Because AI will not determine these values for us. Eh. If we let
Mhm.
it determine it, or we let some random rogue uh, agent or whatever determine this for us, it's going to be very dangerous.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also, we have to recognize that there isn't really a legal precedent
Mhm.
for how AI is working. So legally speaking, a lot of the areas where AI is working is not illegal. It's not
Mhm.
yeah, it's not legally wrong. It's not criminal. But it's more because the laws have not yet caught up to
Mhm.
what AI can do. So and copyright and intellectual property
Yep.
are all legal matters. They're in a way arbitrary in the sense that society talked about it and came up with agreements and put it on paper, and that is what became intellectual property law.
Right.
So
Right.
ayun, and it hasn't it doesn't know yet what to do with AI in terms of the legal definitions. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
ayun, I don't know, I'm not that updated, but it's nga an ongoing discussion. So right now, a lot of the moderation of AI has been per platform. Parang like Kickstarter said no AI. Some
Mhm.
other platform will say no AI. Pero wala pang like large legal consensus. Hindi pa nila na-figure out. So,
Yeah. And it's quite odd for so we have some comments. Juan
mhm.
Rafael said, sadly, AIR can produce more dynamic posts via prompts, can't even generate weapons, furniture correctly either, will rather get my access from commissioned artworks.
Mm.
Um, yeah,
Yes.
agree. But
Not
we
yet.
have to. exactly. The qualifier there is that it's not yet, and it's
Mm-mm.
continuously improving, and
Mm.
the speed as what it is progressing, and we will show, visit some. We did an episode about this actually already last year.
Mm.
Just playing around with AI art. So it was just an episode of us just
Mm.
going through different prompts and just seeing and having fun what we would
Mm.
find out. And nowadays, because AI art, everybody's doing it. Sabi nga nila, humans have been desensitized to AI art, so it's no longer, you know, as
Yeah.
impressive. Oh, okay. Ano to AI
Yeah.
art? Parang alam
Sabi
mo
ni
yun, parang
Rap yung hands daw, hindi
Mm.
magawa ng robots.
Mhm.
Pero we have actual famous artists who can't even do feet.
And
Alam niyo
hands.
na kung sino yun kung fan kayo ng comic books.
yeah. So
AI pala yun. AI pala
Ay,
yun.
AI ba siya? Oh,
the
ahead
whole
of his time pala
time,
siya.
He was
the whole
an AI the
time, he
whole
was an
time.
AI.
Now, suddenly it makes so much sense.
Tapos 'di ba yung proportions niya medyo weird pa? Yung mga
Yeah.
chest na nakatabing gano'n pero wow, paano nangyari yun?
Kasi AI
What
nga.
is
AI pala yun. Oo.
AI pala siya? Yeah, agree, agree,
Yeah.
agree. So
But yun,
yeah,
it's not yet there mainly because maybe kulang pa yung data sets niya, maybe kulang pa yung processing power, but eventually
Mhm.
I think it's going to get more complicated and more sophisticated.
Mhm.
So it's a matter of time eh. So talagang we just have to set the rules,
Mhm.
'di ba?
yep,
You just have
yep.
to set the rules. You have to agree. Ang problema pa diyan yung IP nga and yung let's even go to the internet. Our legal our legal frameworks can't even handle the internet properly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Our
Internet
lawmakers
on its
don't
own.
understand the internet.
Yeah.
Our lawmakers don't understand cryptocurrency or the blockchain. Mas
Not
malabo
even
nilang maintindihan itong AI.
not even
So,
there. We haven't even regulated social media. Parang
exactly. So,
yun yung in the
sobrang behind
pipeline of,
tayo eh.
yeah, in the pipeline of events, 'di ba? Parang internet, social media,
Yes.
so, and then AI. Eh, yung internet pa lang medyo half pa, yung social media wala pa. So,
Mm,
yun medyo sobrang layo ng
sobrang
catch
behind, 'no?
22. Oo.
And tama si Juan Rafael. That there are a lot of very sort of unethical
Mm.
Mhm,
ways you can really maximize technology. Even without AI pa nga, we were already doing a lot of Photoshop magic, right? And Photoshop already did a lot of parang predictive, content aware
Yeah.
works, and then a lot of the other graphic tools are also doing the same. So you can sort of make it predict other elements,
Yeah.
move elements, and so forth. But it required a skill. Eh. Kumbaga parang it required
Mhm.
the designer to have some
mhm,
context of the software. Ngayon kasi,
yeah,
the software is so powerful that you
mm,
just feed it, here's a
mhm,
photo, be inspired for it for like maybe like 10%, and then here's my prompt. And then
Mm.
suddenly, it's like, oh, okay,
yeah,
what's that? And it is pretty crazy. But in terms of as a game designer, and that's kind of where we are coming
mhm,
from, it does help a lot in terms of just getting something more tangible. In when you're, for example, maybe designing a fantasy game instead of stealing somebody else's uh, fantasy art, you can generate the art, stick it
Mm.
in your prototype, and probably it won't be cohesive, not unless you're very technical already with how you do your AI generation, and you can already pinpoint seed parameters and so forth. Then you can make something cohesive. But if you're just a sort of just a normal game designer, you don't have to. But at the very least, in terms of quick and dirty graphics, you can
Mm.
already put them in there and start playing around with something. At least it looks presentable already. So parang hindi na. hindi na, hindi na
Mm.
boxes lang ang ano mo
Oh,
or
hindi na
stick
yung
figures.
stick drawings, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
pwede ka
I
ng
just had
ano,
a thought right now kasi we were talking about rules nga, 'di ba? And discussing it. Uh, Even sa mga gamers natin dito sa Pilipinas, every once in a while, may paulit-ulit tayo na topic ng bootleg games
Mm.
sa mga Facebook groups. Eh kung yun pa lang, hindi na tayo makapag-agree about
yep,
intellectual property and copyright, paano pa tayo mag-agree pagdating dito sa AI na it's even murkier,
Yeah.
'di ba?
yep, yep,
So
yep.
I don't know when we're going to be able to catch up with this, even on general consensus or more even more so pagdating sa legalities. But the
Yeah.
conversation has to be had.
Mm.
Yeah,
Hindi
yeah.
pwedeng hindi natin ano kasi hindi natin naiintindihan, 'di ba? It has to be discussed and you have to, if you care about the future of humanity, it's something that you have to be part of.
Yeah.
I think you
And
have to be part of
a
this
lot,
discussion.
a lot of the components nga of AI is not something that even a it's not really new. You know,
Mm,
search engines have been
yes.
already scouring and gathering all of the data of the world and providing search results. You know. So,
Yeah.
ginawa niya yun by capturing every bit of text, capturing all of the images and so forth.
Yep.
Pero, the big difference kasi is most of the search engines before, they offered it as a service to get to a site. Itong learning models kasi is now taking that data and instead of bring it to a site, here's my parang new thought or
Mm.
new
Mm-hmm.
output based on that same data. So
Mm.
it's not like the data that was used, but well, at least not all of them. Um, some could have been done nga in an ethical manner, something are all public domain, but at the same time, yun nga, it's not something na it's not
Mm-hmm.
readily available. Everybody, I'm a developer, so I'm familiar with how to build the learning models, how to do the training models,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all pretty much open source. Although some of them are, the model itself is closed. So, for example, by OpenAI, ChatGPT, the model itself is closed. But let's say Stable Diffusion, image generation, that is purely open source. Like,
Mm.
here you go, here's the model, download it,
Mm-hmm.
morph it to your liking, remove the restrictions as much as you want, and then boom, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
So
Maganda
yun.
yung mention ni Rap about pastiche. I
Mhm.
don't know how to pronounce that.
Mm.
But I think a lot of the problems arising with the AI kasi nga learning siya eh.
Mm.
So uh, we as humans don't even understand our own process of learning. So
Yep. Yep.
hindi natin alam kung nasaan ba yung nanggagaya ka lang. Yung pastiche kasi is you're imitating something tapos para magpo-produce ka ng something new.
Yep.
And that's where the problem arises with AI is because AI is basically mimicking human learning.
Mm.
Right.
Na tinitignan niya kung ano yung existing, which is how humans learn. We don't learn from parang, uy, nag-imbento kami tapos walang basis. It's
Mm.
always based on previous work. And this is also the problem why art, you cannot copyright a technique ng art, di ba? You
Mhm.
can copyright the image or ano, but you cannot copyright the technique.
Yep.
You
Sa
can
board games,
copyright
you
the
can.
final product, the parang the final
Yes,
artwork,
yes.
but not how
Yep.
you did it.
Exactly. Tapos yung sa board games, you cannot copyright game
Mechanic.
mechanics,
Yeah.
but you can copyright ano bang pwede mo i-copyright sa board game? Yung ano na, yung
Yung
I
rules.
guess it's also the final product and yung may logo ka,
The
may pangalan ka,
yeah.
Actually, that's where it also gets complicated because
you
game
can do
design
skin.
itself is already in a loophole in intellectual
Mm,
property
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
because what is the final product? Is it the text? Is it the art? So even board
Mhm.
games, when you copyright it, you can't copyright it as a whole. You have to
Yeah.
copyright it in its parts.
Per
The
Mhm.
art
part.
part, the text part, So yeah, I mean, game design itself is already in a loophole when it comes
Yeah.
to the law of intellectual
That's why
property.
Millionaire's Game is legal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. No, I
it's
mean,
but
even
it's frowned
right.
upon. It's unethical
Yeah.
within the community. It's unethical.
But
Yeah,
it's
that's why there's
perfectly
also,
legal.
yeah, there's
Mm-mm.
a difference between something being ethical and being legal. So
Yes.
if you knock off, now you change all the art and you reword things, but it plays exactly the same as
Hmm.
another game, would be legal. But in many game designers' views, it's unethical.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Jake.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, there are so many medyo layers of
Daming layers ng issue na to
quirkiness.
eh, no?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
if you're really not into like the industry, or
Mm-hmm.
you actively seek out the conversation, it's gonna be complicated. It's not black and white, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
it's very not black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, I actually agree also with Juan Escolar's comment that there's really no point saying boycott or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen. The
Mm.
importante is we know how to use it ethically,
Mm.
and hopefully in the future legally then we set parameters
Yeah.
on.
We build
Yeah,
enough rules.
Mm,
Pero yun nga eh, even the technology is being defined.
yeah.
So,
It,
yan. So,
yung
yep.
problema like in AI art, 'di ba? Like medyo yung halatang malaking red flag na, even though without a legal basis, is when people generate AI art and the prompt is the name of the artist.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of artists nowadays, especially mga fantasy art, na they're known na they have this specific style of fantasy art, and their exact name is being used as the
Mm-hmm.
prompt. And if you look at so right, a lot of these mga like Midjourney, they were trained using data that was scraped off the internet, meaning copy paste. It was downloaded, scraped off the internet, including the actual work by these artists, and that's why you can put their name as a prompt, because it knows that these certain works came from this certain artist.
well,
Um,
actually, to be exact,
mm,
what was downloaded is not the original art. It was just the thumbnail
mm,
because you cannot train a model using bigger than 512 pixels. Actually, normally it's 100 pixels.
mm,
It's not the original art. It doesn't have the same level of accuracy. And it's
mhm,
the label that was used on the text of the thumbnail. So it
mhm.
so
Yeah.
so, so
Yes.
it's meaning it's again technicalities, but it's publicly available data. It's not like it was hidden. It's
Mhm.
something that search engines already use
Yep.
today. It's just
Yeah.
used
There.
in a
And
totally
human
different
learning
manner.
is also like that eh. Hindi ba? Even artists will talk na, oh, etong artist na to, medyo ginagaya niya si artist na ganito,
Right.
na nauna sa kanya. Human learning is also like that eh, which makes this issue more murky
Yeah.
because it's
Very.
really just mimicking human learning
Mhm.
at a faster rate basically dahil
Mhm.
sa parang wow, ang bilis ah. And it's it's super scary fast, 'di
Mhm.
ba?
Yeah. So
Yeah. Okay.
Imagine yung kaya niya magbasa, yung like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
amount of reading that this AI has done,
Mhm.
no human being can do that in their entire lifetime.
Yeah.
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 So look
Yeah.
at that
And
advantage. There's no way. There's
the
no
the
way.
comprehensive level of so it's a not ChatGPT is at its core is a very um, well, it has multiple layers, but on its very core, it's natural language processing. So
Mhm,
it takes language, understand, you know, able to train and understand context. But
Mhm.
what is crazy about ChatGPT's data is that it's it's not only understanding the text, it's understanding the full context of
Mhm.
the text. So it's not just hey, so let's go. uh, uh, show me how to design a board game
Mm-hmm.
in um, Photoshop.
Oops, what happened? Okay.
So it's going to go through an instruction of,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so base taking your prompt, and it's giving you an outline of your different steps. And so parang okay, that seems pretty straightforward. Here's something that I probably already would know. But what's interesting about it is that you can make it, you're in a conversation. It's not parang one
Mm-hmm.
message and here's a response.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go, okay,
Focus on one aspect of that.
yeah. So for example, explain more step two,
Mhm.
and then it's gonna go into that and start to give you more description and more steps and um, more pointers
Mhm.
and
Huh.
Yep.
People
even
have not used Chat GPT yet. I-
Yeah. I've been exploring this Chat GPT like the
so
past 2 days, I think.
yeah. Well,
yeah.
ako
So
when I need to look for certain knowledge, certain things, I would generally now use Chat GPT first versus
yeah.
Google.
So they realize that there's, because back in the day talaga, no, parang kala mo napakatagal.
Mm-hmm.
What is the meaning of life? So we can make a new chat. You can take that same chat, leave that. What is the meaning of life? Let that run.
No, you know what's a better prompt?
Okay.
Um, um, because right, because when you ask it something like what is the meaning of life, it's not really going. It doesn't need to generate anything, right? It needs to
Hmm.
go through the history of humanity and come up with like a summary of philosophical, yeah, like what it came out.
Yeah.
Because if you
Yeah.
want to really see what AI Chat GPT does something different, is you have to make it create something. So instead of
Yep.
asking it something like what is the meaning of life, ask it something like um, I'm writing a science fiction and they've discovered the meaning of life. What can you make up a meaning of life for my novel? Something like that. And then let's see what it comes up with.
So science fiction novel where
And
they discovered
the meaning of life.
the meaning
Let's
of
see if it
life.
comes up with something. Can
Hitchhiker's
you
Guide to the
Show me
Galaxy.
the summary.
no, show me what they discovered. Just
Show
show
me
me
what they discovered.
show you the me was the show me.
Actually, it still understands even your grammar,
Yeah, yeah,
even
it
if
does.
your
It does. Okay,
grammar.
so there.
After
All right.
searching and experimentation, scientists finally unlocked the mystery of the universe. They discovered the fundamental building blocks of the universe are not matter or energy, but consciousness itself. They realize that everything in the universe, from the tiniest particle to the most complex organism, is a manifestation of consciousness. With this realization, the scientists come to understand the purpose of life is to
Mhm.
experience and express consciousness in all its forms. They see that the universe is constantly evolving and changing, that each individual consciousness plays a unique role in this process. Scientists realize that the key to finding meaning and fulfillment is to embrace their own unique consciousness and use it to contribute to the evolution and betterment of the universe. They understand that the ultimate goal is to reach the state of unity, harmony with all consciousness, and to understand the true nature of reality.
Yeah, so
Yep.
that's where it kind of gets crazy. Like, yeah, that's not true, right? I mean, that's not we haven't discovered that yet, but you can use AI to invent things
Yeah.
for your fiction. You can make it
Yep.
extrapolate on reality, right? Because
So
Mm-hmm.
that's not true, but it made it up. So
yeah.
yeah.
So ChatGPT is a conversation bot, but it has so much data, immense amount of data that it is pretty much amazing. And I'll create a separate one just so it's a little bit technical, but let's say
Yeah.
um,
I
show
made it,
me code.
ano eh,
Sige, sir.
I made it do create a Dungeons and Dragons character for me, and I
Yes.
made it create a backstory for that. I made it create a story of a captain in the Imperial Guard of the Warhammer
Yeah.
40K universe.
Yep.
And ang
Yep.
galing, nagawa niya talaga. So, talagang if you're a dungeon master, not
Yeah.
necessarily a game designer,
Mhm.
or if you're a game designer, you just want to come up with random,
Yeah.
backstory for your characters.
Or just for NPCs and whatever.
Oo,
Yeah. Yeah.
talagang ano the amount of stuff it can what regurgitate.
Yeah. And
It's
so
amazing.
going back to what Raf also said, because me, what my usage for ChatGPT right now has been for proofreading.
Mhm.
So, for example, I'm editing a book. If I find a sentence that doesn't sound right, right, I can probably figure out on my own how to rewrite it.
Mhm.
Just give me some time. I have to think about it, find out what's wrong with the sentence, and rewrite it. But that will take some time and that will take some energy. So what I do now is I just feed it to ChatGPT. I say, "Hey,
Mhm.
ChatGPT, can you rewrite this sentence for me so it's better?" And it will give me suggestions. And from there, I'm going to edit. So it, as what Raf was saying, is you can use it as a
Mhm.
tool, um, and you still have the skills. You still have the yeah, you still have the skills to do the actual task, but the chat gpt just takes off a lot of the mental load from you, and you're now like more on a checking, supervisory managing role, instead of you having to get into the nitty gritty yourself. And
Mhm.
I think that's fundamentally different compared to how people use AI art sometimes, because in AI art it's like a
Yep.
complete replacement of a human person, like an artist. Like I can't do any art, I'm going to use AI art to completely replace an artist, right? But like for example, how I use it, um, I'm just doing it. I'm just using it so that it will do something that I can do, except it can do it faster and less stressful. But if
Yeah.
Mhm.
without ChatGPT, I can still do it myself. So
Correct.
that's where it becomes a tool like
Yep.
Photoshop, or yeah, those other, instead of hand drawing things, right? I'm using now the interface of Photoshop in order to do things non-destructively, so it's much easier. So yeah, so AI can really help creatives just skip the nitty gritty, dirty aspect so that they can focus more on the actual creative work.
Yeah. And I just wanted to show everyone that it's not just text. It's really understanding the internet um, in text form. So anything that can be generated through text. So I just asked it, hey, show me the code on how to create a board game card, and it this is something you can actually run.
Mhm.
It You can even ask it, hey, how do I run this code, blah blah blah, and it will teach you how to do that.
Mhm.
But this
Yeah,
is actually what my code would look like whenever I do
Mhm.
my game design. And
yeah.
it's something that Sir Freddy and I were talking before we entered the show. A
Mhm.
lot of my game designs before I would actually procedurally
Generate.
use technology to generate them. So, for example, the cards, the randomness, and I don't fiddle around with Excel files too much. I would just do a bit of code to generate all of the different permutations and then send that to Nico for printing. But for card or order, here's the PDF. But I do that because I invest a little bit upfront and then it becomes much faster whenever I need to iterate. Now with ChatGPT, I can even sort of experiment with the ideas themselves. And yun nga, sabi nga ni Sir Freddy, create themes, background. So if you can uh, create a board game about Philippine um, uh,
Mythology.
mythology. There you go. Sorry, edit, edit, edit.
Oh, there's a caveat for ChatGPT. It doesn't know anything after 2021 because all of the current data is from before, I think, 2021 and before that. So if you
Yeah,
ask it any current issues of 2022, it's gonna tell you, sorry, but I don't know because my training data is only up to 2021.
right. Yeah.
Mm.
Or it will generate incorrect data,
Yeah.
um,
Oh,
that because
yeah.
it caps into
Mhm.
2021.
That's also another thing is that ChatGPT is not 100% correct. So
Mhm.
if you need to double check your facts or something like that, not something creative, you can't rely on it giving the exact factual thing. And it's part of the disclaimer that it
Well,
can't do that.
however, let me qualify that.
Mm.
It does make mistakes, but it
Yes.
learns. So
Yes.
when
Yeah.
it makes a mistake today, and then somebody tells it that with a
With the
downvote
down, yeah,
that the AI made a mistake, it will not make the same mistake.
Mhm.
yeah.
So yun yung kailangan i-qualify yan. Yes, it can make mistakes, but it's kind of like humans then that are
Mm.
learning. If you tell it this is wrong, then the next time around it knows it's wrong.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So ganun siya eh.
Yeah.
So
Eh,
Yeah.
yeah. Also,
may
it's
ano
It,
not.
talaga siya.
It can do different languages. So like I asked it to write a poem in Tagalog. So
mhm.
it can yeah, you can actually ask it in different languages and it will still reply.
Yeah, because again, text data of the internet that it was able to get training on is pretty much any language. So it's able to converse in any language.
Mm.
Ano,
So
ito
here's
parang worker placement na area control na economic game.
Mhm.
May isa akong ano eh, I want to experiment if we can plug in
worker
the rules
placement.
of a game and then ask it to optimize it.
Maybe, maybe.
Kasi 'di ba, paminsan
Let's
I don't know. Kasi we can use it as an editor eh. That's
Mhm.
one
right.
thing I've been thinking about kung paano siya gagamitin. Kasi obviously we can't make it I I don't know if we can't or ano, pero hindi ko pa makiisip kung paano mo gagawin na siya yung magge-generate mismo ng rules.
Yeah.
But I think if we can come up with rules na medyo pangit yung pagkakagawa natin, pwede nating pa-edit and pa-optimize sa AI.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Probably
think that's
you could feed it
mhm.
but you still have to like supervise and like approve
Yes.
and change. But it's gonna give you suggestions based on my
Mhm.
experience. So yeah, I think yeah, I guess it depends also like how much rules training data did it get? Is it able to copy paste from PDFs? Because most board game rules are in PDFs or
Yeah,
whatever.
it can because
Mhm.
Google searches in PDFs.
Mhm. Okay, so yeah,
So
so it probably got that training data.
yeah, yeah, it
So
does.
mm.
Probably it also understood what bad rules were.
Believe that's an ancient being a resident.
So here's one thing that we could work well for a worker placement game: dice rolling with trick taking. Medieval fantasy setting. In this game, players will take the role of powerful sorcerers, brave knights, cunning thieves, each with their own unique abilities. That sounds like Lords of Waterdeep. Sort of. Pawns
Yeah.
would represent a sprawling castle or a magical kingdom, different locations representing the actions that the player. See, it understands worker placement because it says actions that players can take
Mhm.
on the turn. For example, the throne room might allow players to roll dice again to gain resources or recruit new creatures, while the blacksmith forge allows players to upgrade their equipment. The trick-taking aspect could come into play during battles or other challenges, where players must use their wits and their die rolls to outmaneuver their opponents and emerge victorious. Overall, this theme provides a rich and immersive setting for players to explore and would allow for a wide range of strategic options and gameplay mechanics.
Mhm.
So you could use it to come up with ideas for
Mhm.
games. Of course, as a designer, you still have to flesh it out. You still have to make
Mhm.
it work. You still have to go through all of the different steps. Um, but you could slowly, go through. Oh, so give me the intro for this game. Give me the setup rules for this game,
Mhm.
and you can do those steps, and it will try to break it down and go through that in its best cohesive manner. But as a designer, just by looking at this, I'm already a bit inspired of like, hey, that's a cool idea. Tama, no, trick taking for combat. Bakit nga naman hindi? That's a cool idea. Parang
Mm.
bigla kayo magpupusoy pagka magpupusoy dos pag may combat kayo instead of doing die rolls. So, oo nga naman, pwede. 'Di ba? Or pusoy. So, yun na yung three moves mo. So, very interesting. And it's a very different world, of course. The world is now changing again. This this pandemic and all of the big, technological advancements that are coming out are changing the landscape. But I think as a designer, I'm excited because this, for example, really empowers me to do a lot of creative things. And it also allows me to sort of parang if I'm a bit uninspired or maybe I'm confused of what path to take, I can use ChatGPT to just give me options. I'm not sure which one, so here's some ideas I'm gonna throw at it, throw and see what sticks, and then siya yung, from there. Normally, what happens is that you will be inspired, like, hey, that's a pretty
Mhm.
cool idea. Maybe I can take that on, and then you move on. Then your own personal human creativeness will still kick in,
Yeah.
but it's a really good starter.
Mhm.
It's a really good starter.
Yeah.
So yun
I think
yung
yeah,
Mm.
AI will we if you are a creative, you might want to look at AI um as a tool. Like for example, they're a proofreader. Si Mark said proofreader, but also actually as a ghostwriter, as an assistant, as a some like a person you can throw ideas with in a way, right? Um, yeah. Um,
Oh, okay. Ito na, rules na yung sinusulat, oh. Yung Fred Sevilla mentioned,
yeah, no,
can you
you know.
choose between draw a card and Darna? ChatGPT, I don't think that's the AI you want to use for this, but AI has been used to play games.
Mhm,
Si Deep Blue, matagal na yung balitang yon, di
right.
ba?
mhm,
Was playing chess, ngayon hindi na siya kayang talunin ng tao.
Yeah,
And more recently, yung si Go, yung I forgot, it's yung anak na to ni Deep Blue eh. Yung Go naman yung tinalo niya and hindi na rin natalo yung AI ng
mhm,
yeah,
tao. So, yes, you can, again, it's you feed, if you want AI to play a game, you feed it the values na ano yung mahalaga. Ito yung win condition, ito yung mahalaga. How do you get there? That's basically how the AI decides on the optimal move. Ang advantage niya lang is kaya niyang tignan lahat ng options dahil ang bilis niya mag-compute, while
mhm,
humans are limited in kung ilan yung kaya natin i-compute per in a certain span of time. So, yes, AI can do that. It can choose whether it should draw a card or whether it should say Darna, and
mhm,
it will
yeah,
be able to make that decision faster than you.
mhm.
yeah. And
Yeah.
um, the reality of it is that it's when we say it's computing, it's actually doing a permutation. It's
Mhm.
going forward in time and
Yes.
running every possibility
Yeah.
that it can see, and then measure out all of the best moves from there.
It's
So
basically what si Doctor Strange did
yeah,
Yep.
in
yeah, pretty much. So what
in
what
ano,
Doctor Strange
Infinity
did
War. Yeah.
is what so in chess, the most advanced AI right now is called Stockfish, and it has an ELO rating of 4,000. So like humans are at 2,500, 2,800, 700. Goldie Magnus Carlson, which is like the best player right now, the best human, is to reach 3K, and Stockfish is way above that. Ganun na siya. And
Mhm.
what's even crazier is that they're pitting AI against AI. So, for example, if you watch Queen's Gambit, they made a model of her, so you can actually play against her. And even the popular game, yun na nga eh. So ito na yung transfer learning that AI can do. So AI can take your playing data and figure out how you play and now create a bot version of you
Yeah,
that
yeah,
people can fight.
yeah.
And like
However,
I
ito yung problema I think ng ano eh. We can use AI to play test and check for game imbalances dahil kaya niya nga i-permutate lahat
right.
ng possible ano. But it will be playing at such a superhuman level that it cannot replicate the human experience.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, definitely. I
So,
don't think
yung
it can
yung problema
replicate fun.
natin, even
AI
if
can't
it's
have
in
fun.
yes, exactly. So, the problem is hindi niya ma-replicate yung human experience. It can make a super balanced game, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be fun. Because the
Yeah.
human experience is still going to be very different from how an AI play tests your game. So let's say may
Mhm.
design ka at gusto mong pa-playtest ko sa ano para ma-balance niya. But the AI will not tell you if the game is actually going to be fun. I don't think kasi iba yung experience ng tao eh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yung limitations natin is actually part of what makes something fun dahil hindi ko nakita yun 'di
Yeah.
ba? That's never going to happen to an AI. Hindi parang
It,
sasabihin ng AI, hindi ko nakita yun, yung pala yung plano mo. 'Di ba? That's fun.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's not going to happen to an AI.
Yeah.
So, yun ang limitation niya, I guess, pagdating sa kung kaya mong ipa-playtest yung game mo sa AI.
Yeah.
So, yun. I'm just extrapolating based on Fred Sevilla's question.
Yes. Yeah.
Tsaka
So
the misconception in game, there's a misconception with game design, I think. A lot of because when players interact with a game. Oh, see. Okay, when players interact with a game, um one of the big things that they interact with is the balance of the game, right? Because they analyze it in order to win, right? They
Mhm.
want to understand the balance in order to find good strategies in order to win. And so there's often a misconception with game design that a lot of it is in balancing the game. Pero
mhm,
actually, balance is not a it's more of a requirement for a game to be fun rather than it is not the balance is not the game, right?
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
balance is just a requirement for the game to be fun because if the game is unbalanced, then there's always going to be a dominant strategy. Then you're not going to be strategizing anymore because you're just going to always pick the dominant strategy and the game is no longer fun, right?
Mhm.
Um, so yun. So you could probably use AI eventually to playtest the game just to find what are the unbalanced parts. But that does not mean that that's the end goal of the AI. Just because a game is perfectly balanced doesn't mean it's going to be fun. Because if you think about it, like for example, flipping a coin and then calling it heads or tails, that is a perfectly balanced game in a way, right?
mhm.
It's completely random, but it's completely balanced. But
It's
it's
not
not.
random.
Well,
Kidding.
yeah. Or run.
Yes.
Let's say we play a game. Oh, we're roll one dice. Whoever guesses the number is the winner. That's in a way perfectly balanced, right? But it's not necessarily fun. And sometimes the imbalances of a game is what actually makes it fun. So
Yeah,
AI
yeah.
may
And
be
some games are have been designed deliberately imbalanced.
Hmm,
And it is part of the fun of that game na parang on the onset, known fact na dehado yung ganitong player against, especially with war games, meron silang ganong habit where they would have a certain faction or a certain side to be a little bit more imbalanced or uh, a little bit more behind because in the thematic sense it is really behind and it needs to achieve certain goals for it to circumvent that. So but yeah, it is, yeah, so definitely um, AI can be used to play test games, but with the arsenal, with the amount of tools that is available today for game designers. Meron na kayong panggawa ng prototype nyo.
Mm.
May pang-check na kayo ng rules kung tama ba, nababasa ba
Yeah.
yung rules mo. 'Di ba? Wala kang team, meron kang mechanics, pasa mo yung mechanics, come up with a theme for this game. Tignan mo kung meron siyang magandang idea.
Mm.
Meron kang team, wala ka pang mechanics, pasa mo, tingnan mo kung meron siyang ma-inspire. But again, the legwork for determining whether that idea is actually something that should be pursued, it's actually something that could be done into a game. I don't think that because lang sinabi ni ChatGPT, here's a game idea or experience, and then
Yeah.
yun na siya, tapos na, from start to finish. I think because of board games is such a human centric
Mhm.
design, kailangan pa rin to go through the paces.
Yeah.
Pero may nabawas na. I think malaki yung binawas ng AI technology for a lot of the heavy, not actually really, you know, necessary work, but it gets the designer inspired. Like if I'm looking at prettier cards, at least I feel that I recognize this location is this, 'di ba? When I'm playing it in my tabletop simulator, it looks presentable. Of course,
Mm.
it might detract you from the actual objective, which is to play
Mhm.
test the experience. So be careful of that. Pero definitely, the tools are there, and it's something that we should, as designers, I think we should start to explore, familiarize, and if not, even maximize the best we could because they're not gonna go away. They
Mm.
are here to stay, and we're just gonna see this get better and better in the next few months and years.
Yeah.
And it would be good if you're a bit ahead of the curve because you're able to like really navigate this new world that's coming.
Mhm.
Um,
Tsaka,
it
yeah. Tsaka ano, although um I also want to bring up the contentious part, which is the ethics, because that's where, like, so if you're part of Board Game Design Lab, it's a
Mhm.
big board game community. For like, I don't know how long, like weeks, there's always
Months
this
na ata eh.
months ata, yeah. I don't know if nag-stop na because the moderators had to do something about it.
Mhm.
It was just posts na people na nag-aaway about AI art because I know if you've heard about AI art, you know that there's issues in terms of it replacing human artists, the plagiarism, the using of the training data of the artist. So there's a lot of um, things there. There's a lot of things there to unpack, and that conversation's definitely not over. And it's definitely something that the legal minds and the ethical minds will have to, philosophical minds will have to discuss. Um, so yun, so it was all over Board Game Design Lab,
mhm,
and it's good to be part of the conversation or at least to listen to it so that you get to see both sides
Mhm.
um, and so that you'll have a better idea also of how to use these tools ethically or at least be aware of the ethical conversation around it because sadly um, the as we said earlier in the episode, the legal and ethical conversations are still way behind. The tech is moving faster than the legal and the ethics, and so it's gonna be wild west for a long time. I think people are not gonna know
uh,
what is right and what is wrong, and so it's good to be to know the tools, but to know also like yeah the conversation so that um you're also aware and not doing unethical things or at
correct.
least
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I know some publishers have already uh, made pledges that they will never use AI art.
mm,
And I think it's it's an emotionally driven
mm,
decision, and
And
medyo I think it's premature to have a parang final we're never going to use AI art or we're never going to use AI in
yeah
our publications.
yeah
yeah,
because
I think it's quite. I mean, I get it because if you're using a AI art, the, the you can notice also with the data set
Mm-hmm.
din naman na available sa market for the AI art. Whenever they say this certain style, this certain artist, they all look the same. I mean, they you as humans we quickly see the patterns and we
Mm-hmm.
see the resemblance. I personally am not too interested in using it din naman. But definitely it's like, hey, here's the idea, here's the parang framing, pero mas maganda sana ganito. Then talk to an artist and then now they're
Yeah,
starting again from something that you now can both visualize,
yeah.
but they have all of the elements you wanted. And as a designer who doesn't have artistic capabilities, being able to say, here's a design idea, but it don't take this. You can design your own, but this is sort of the scene that I'm portraying.
Mhm.
It helps the conversation forward, but I really don't think. I mean, maybe people would publish it, pero I don't see such a cohesive look
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
if you use AI,
Tsaka,
AI
And you
art.
can't and you
there,
can't own the images, so that's part
yeah.
of the problem.
So there's
Uh,
there's a
with
lot of,
with stable diffusion to a certain degree, yes. Because if you build your own model, then you could.
yeah,
So,
because
may ano may loophole yung iba eh. Kasi nga may mga offline models na pwede. But
yeah.
again,
Pag ikaw
those
nag-feed
not.
ng dataset niya.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a lot of, because like yun nga, there's a lot of nuances in the discussion. A lot of,
Mhm.
I'm gonna throw some scenarios, and like, if you're staunchly against or for AI art, how are you going to deal with these scenarios? So let's
Mhm.
say you can't publish a game with AI art, right? How about a game wherein AI art was used in the prototyping stage just
Mhm.
for the concept art? How
Yep.
was that wrong? But none of the AI art went to the final thing,
Correct.
right? How about a game wherein the AI model was used, the training data is completely all public domain, like it's all Renaissance art, right? um how would you consider that? You're not stealing from any living artists. You All the artists that were the training data has been used have been dead for 500 years. So parang, is that an issue? I mean, if you actually use public domain art, it's in a way more copying from the person, right? Or how about you say no AI art? What if you're an artist, right, and you do what the old like masters did, wherein they got assistants to finish their paintings, but it's still stamped my name, right? So what if you have a body of work, you feed your own body of work to an AI in order to just do the nitty gritty stuff,
Right.
Mhm.
then you
Yes.
Yes.
Do the
generate art.
permutation.
Yeah, you generate art using the data set from your own art, and then you're just cleaning it up, fixing it stuff. So you're basically just using it
Yep.
to speed up work that you would have done yourself, right?
Right.
So is that now copyrightable because it's based on your own offline model that only you have? Yun. So parang, so
Yeah.
yeah, there's so many different
So
Yep.
it's
situations where
so
parang,
much gray
what's the
areas.
ethics
Mhm.
there? Parang, how
Uh,
is that going to work?
yeah.
Or
I think
what if
I
you create a game, right? And the game is like, this is like a dumb situation na. The game is human versus AI, right? So the theme itself needs AI art because you're like going to like, somehow the mechanics is driven about if distinguishing if it's from a human artist or from an AI artist. So
right.
yun pa lang parang, so yeah, there's just so many possible
Yeah.
scenarios that,
That's why I feel that the people who are saying that no, absolutely boycott, bawal, they're they're talking prematurely about something that's nobody really quite understands yet.
mm,
So mahirap magsalita ng tapos.
yeah,
And that's my opinion. And ako I'm in the short term, I'm a pessimist. I know how badly people can get this thing. Na talagang how we can mess this up.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
But in the long term, I'm actually an optimist.
yeah,
And I believe that over the long term, we will understand and we will realize how to use this technology properly
yeah,
and we will improve human society. Yun
Yeah.
nga lang,
Yep.
iba yung short term, iba yung long term.
Yan,
Short term,
nandun,
I'm pretty sure this will cause a lot of human misery. It will cause a lot of jobs lost. It will cause a lot of fights,
yeah.
which we have seen, and a lot of misunderstanding. But uh,
Yan, nasa axis
artificial,
stage pa
yeah,
tayo eh. ng
artificial intelligence is,
progress. Ah,
di ba? Artificial intelligence is intelligence.
hmm,
Parang human intelligence yan eh. It's a tool for us to use to solve problems.
Yep.
But we don't use our intelligence to tell us what the problems are. Di ba? We use something else eh. And I don't think AI has that yet. And that's part of what we need to use to be able to set parameters for AI. The same values that we use for our own intelligence when we try to solve when we decide which problems to solve, ano yung mas importante, ano yung mas hindi. And I think ganun din yung dapat maging basis natin pagdating sa pag-set ng parameters or ethics natin sa pagdating sa artificial intelligence. We have to treat it like a tool, and then yun, ganun. That's how we should proceed. We
Yep.
have to determine the values.
hmm,
Yun na papasok talaga yung ethics eh.
Yeah.
hmm,
Again, you can use Photoshop
Mm-mm.
for for bad things. You can steal a lot of things using Photoshop. It can remove things, copyright, a lot of other things that you normally you shouldn't have access to, but because it's using the tool, yeah, you can do it. You could do it, but should you do it? That's
Mhm.
where now the ethical component comes in. It's the same thing with this. It's just another tool. If you make it say, oh, write me another version of Noli Me Tangere so I can publish it as my book.
hmm,
Well, that maybe is a little bit different because yeah, it could probably start to explore that and make it into something quite crazy. But will it work? Will people like it? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But is it ethical? That's where the gray area would come in.
yeah.
Um,
Ako, another aspect that I don't see so much about yet, that I want to see with AI art is, so yeah, a lot of people, and it's true that neural networks and AI are based on how humans learn, right? So it's learning based on looking at the art of humans have already created. But what I wonder with AI art is that will it eventually start creating things that are new, in the sense of not just a new composition, but a new style, a new kind of art. So, like for me, what I would find an interesting experiment is if you get an AI art, you feed it um ulit, you feed it paintings from anything public domain 1500s
Mhm.
and older, right? And then you just let it run and run and run and run. Will it start making modern art in like how many iterations? Will it start coming up with um, contemporary art, how art looks now, how digital art looks now? Or will it just stay in that style of like Renaissance, whatever? Because if it will stay in that style of Renaissance, whatever, it was just parang nagcapsya doon and it does not learn and create new styles of art, then there is going to be a problem if AI art gets more support than actual artists, because
Mhm.
real human artists
Mhm.
are the people who are going to push the
Push,
envelope
yeah.
of art
right.
and move it into new domains, new areas that have never existed before. If AI cannot do that and it starts getting the support, then art in general will start to languish. It will peak, and
Mhm.
then that's it. There's no more human artists to push the envelope. So
Yeah,
that
I
for
think
me is another ethical question that comes out with the AI art.
yeah, mechanically, if it's simply um, existing data set, so mathematically based on the algorithm,
Yeah.
uh, it can only produce permutations of that data set. It will not learn anything new forward. Wala siya
Yun,
nung, but if merong human interaction, meaning
mm,
somebody can come in, and whenever there is something more interesting than before, and they can just press like,
Mhm.
that would be enough to get it to a new direction
True.
of art. But
Yeah. So
if there is no human interaction, nobody's telling it that this
mhm.
is something another human will like. Nope, because
Yep.
And
mathematically all of the previous data set is correct.
yeah. So
There's nothing
yun
that
nga,
will tell it that it's incorrect.
that's where the parang the philosophical aspect also of it comes from, because nga when people debate about AI art, right, a lot of people will say, oh, but it learns exactly like how a human artist would learn, and so it's a legit form of art because it learns in the same way a human being learns. But yun nga, there's that X factor that humans have wherein they can generate something that was not in the training. It's by merging different experiences, getting something from outside of art. Like yon, when humans make art, artists, they don't just look at art. They look at the sunset. They look at movies. They look at things that are outside of the artistic domain. So um, so that's where again there's still a lot of conversations to be had about like the authenticness and like
Mhm.
the value of AI art in like the evolution of art as a whole.
Yeah.
So,
Naalala ko
And
si Data sa Star Trek,
mhm,
'di ba? Kasi the whole time he's really the most intelligent uh crew member
mm,
on the Enterprise, but palagi siyang but oftentimes pagka pinapanood mo yung ano, yung episode, paminsan parang siya yung pinakambobo.
mm,
Because there's some things that he cannot understand. And I think may I know it's also a person playing artificially intelligent android in that show, but I think that kind of illustrates yung kulang ng AI
mm,
na wala silang emotions, they're unable to value things on their own.
mhm,
And yung ano 'di ba? Yung si Data was also programmed and yung values niya was just plugged in that he's
yeah.
not supposed to hurt the other people and add his crewmates and things like that, but he's unable to experience love or what mga ganun. But the funny thing is, if you continuously watch uh,
Start.
Next Generation, eventually parang nagkakaroon ng emotions itong si Data. And
Mm,
nagkaroon pa nga ata siya ng episode na may emotion chip siya or something. So, I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but in its current incarnation, AI is basically like yung Data from episode 1 ng Star
mhm.
Trek
They,
Next
sabi
Generation.
sabi ni
I,
ChatGPT, um, hindi AI
yeah,
systems do not have the same feelings same way as humans do. But some researchers are developing AI systems to recognize human emotions. So siya pa
yeah.
rin yung source, na human component pa rin yung source.
Mhm.
Um, and then, yun, hindi pa niya alam kung kaya ba
Yeah.
ng humans.
I actually,
Ng
our
AI.
our laboratory before. So in college, I was in the UP Digital Signal Processing Laboratory. So we were doing AI stuff back then. I would not have foreseen the word is, but one of the projects in the was emotion detection, specifically geared for call center agents. So it was supposed to be a tool wherein by processing the voice and like the words and the tone of the speaker, parang sasabihin niya kung ano yung emotion niya. So are they angry? Are they sarcastic? Are they happy? Are they satisfied? Um, and it seems kind of like, okay, obvious naman you can kind of tell from the phone call pag galit na,
Mhm.
di ba? But yun, it's nga, as a tool, because it's different when you're listening to the person and you're using your computational facilities in your brain to figure out if they're happy or sad versus there's just a dial. Ganun pa yung AI, yung
Mhm.
UI niya is like a dial na may needle. Tapos parang happy, sad, ganon. That's really a big help, right? So yon, tool siya. Yan. And then another thing I wanted to say is talking about how AIs, don't have that
Saan
human
ginamit yung
element.
tool na yun? Is
I
it
don't know if
used by the agents or
by the agent supposed to be. Sa
para
call
'pag
center agent.
nagagalit na sila, "Oops, nagagalit na ako.
No,
I
no,
have
the
to tune
No,
it
no,
customer.
down."
no. It's for
It,
It's both uses. One is for the agent, para narinig niya,
Mhm,
may parang real time na nakita niya kung yung emotion, I think. And then I think the other one was also for the manager kasi parang may log. So of the emotion of the customer. So now you have the numbers to see like how well is this agent performing? Are they able to calm down these something like that? So it's
mm,
ano
pero yung sentiment detection is something already available.
mm,
Probably the tone is not something not doable. I mean, I think that nowadays, yeah, those can be vastly improved.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, in terms of the application of AI, and I think what's really changing the game today is a lot of these AI models are being given out for free,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's drastically changing the. It's shocking society,
Mhm.
because like, huh, I can do all of these, and it's free, and it, but not realizing that we actually open source
yep.
is what
They're
propelled.
data mining us.
Yeah, well, they're data mining us, but at the same time, a lot of things that were open sourced in terms of technology allowed humans and companies to progress much faster, because in
Yeah.
essence, instead of here's
Mhm,
my technology, my IP, but it's
Yeah.
only done in a closed loop. It's only done in your organization. It's never gonna be as well and as performant as something that was tested by, millions of developers.
Yeah.
So
That's why
yeah,
you have to play test your games.
yes.
Yeah, publicly. That's why you have to play test publicly. I just wanted to share. Then I was reminded by something that Ron always says about games. His game design is that um well, you say this, Ron, na parang you often when you start with a game, it's kind of um systemically perfect, and your job as a game designer later on is to add the squiggliness and
Yeah,
the roughness into it to make it more fun. And
yeah,
I think that might be a good like analogy with AI and game design. Like if ever AI does end up making games, it might be on that end, like it's too perfect,
yeah.
but the squiggly humanness of it medyo malabo pa. And also because even game design itself, I think so some people are like saying, oh, can AI eventually make games from scratch in the same way that it's able to make art or stories, right?
We just
Thing
showed
of,
people, a
yeah,
rule set already a while ago.
yeah. But the thing is, game design itself, I think AI probably might never be able to design games like from zero to scratch. Like in the same way as art, right? Supposedly you just put a prompt and it's an actual art. Like do that,
mhm,
make a prompt and an actual game comes out. Probably not, because the thing is, game design itself is not yet fully understood by humans themselves. We don't. There is no unifying theory of game design. As far as I know, there is none yet.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, Game design as a practice, even though we talk about theory and fundamentals, it's still just a collection of best practices. There is no unifying theory. But music, art, and I'm not sure about writing, but music has music theory, art has color theory, and all of these things. So in some way, they've already explained it theoretically in some ways, but game design not yet. So that's probably what helped. Because these AI models have to follow some sort of theory in order to generate their outputs. But since humans themselves, we have not yet come up with a unifying theory of game design, then how can we make an AI do it? So if you notice, when ChatGPT writes out rules, it's just the shadow of a game. It's not
yeah,
mhm,
like it's
yeah,
not playable, or even if you do play it, it doesn't. It can flesh things out, but it's not going to be an actual game experience because we don't understand it yet. right? The game experience happens in the mind. The rules themselves are not the game, right? Philosophically speaking, the rules are not the game. The rules are just a representation of the game, but the actual games happen in the mind. And humans have not yet cracked that theory of game design.
I just yeah,
So I
I just
probably could
asked it to make a game rule book for a board game about dice placement, and it's funny in the sense that it understands what a game looks like,
yeah.
but this is where you're going like, as a human, I don't think this is going to be fun. So it goes,
So
okay, you have a board game with a grid. Each player starts with a set of dice. The goal is to be the first player to place all of your dice on the board. Okay, interesting. On your turn, roll your dice and place one die on an empty square on the board. The die must match the number of squares you are placing it on. If you roll a 5, you place it on the 5 square. If there's no empty squares matching the number of die, you must forfeit your turn. So if you roll a
ooh,
6, you may choose to either place it on a square that's number 6 or reroll all of your dice. So may
yeah,
mga ganun siya. If you roll a 1, you remove one of your opponent's dice on the board, return it to the reserve. The game ends when one player place all of their dice on the board.
yeah,
Player with the most dice on the board wins. If both players run out of dice at the same time, the players with the most dice on the board wins, and if the number of dice is tied, then the game is draw. Nakakatuwa
yeah.
kasi meron tie break pa yung game
Yeah.
design niya.
It
But it had an interesting concept. I'm not sure if the rest of the game is fun, but it
yeah,
did have. It's able to synthesize a game idea. So because
it
it has read every rule book that is available for it to read, then it can synthesize some cohesiveness for a game idea. And yes, that is playable. Um, I'm not sure if it's gonna be fun, but there's some cute idea there.
yeah,
And so yun, so nandun siguro where AI is today. We don't know how it's gonna get to in the future, but at the same time, while it's still wild, wild west, be ethical in its usage, but do definitely explore because it's something that we would be able to learn
yeah,
a lot from, and definitely speed up a lot of our capabilities.
yeah. It You can see it. It understands the shallow movements of fun, right? It
Yeah.
understands the it has an idea and understands the physical movements and the mechanics of fun, but fun is the is greater than the sum of the parts, right?
Yes.
It's a complex
Yeah.
system that arises from these parts, so it understands the parts, but it doesn't understand how those parts create something that is beyond the parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
Parang
probably never will. I really doubt. We
event.
don't understand it either. We don't really know
Yes.
that
Well,
that well.
we'll see.
We'll
We'll
see.
see.
If
If
one,
Um,
somebody invents that emotion chip, then
but even if they do create that emotion chip, they're probably gonna
it's a
figure out
simulation.
sadness, happiness, but fun is not something. It's a kind of on the yeah,
But
it's
even
kind of
yung
a
sinabi mo
higher
kasing ano
level.
eh, yung dinedetect niya yung anger or yung ano, 'di ba,
Yeah,
yung emotion, it's not actually experiencing that emotion eh. It's
yeah,
like just making a tally sheet. Oh, etong words na to paulit-ulit niya ng sinasabi. Yung tone niya mataas na, tumataas and volume tumataas. So it's just assigning values and then
mhm,
yung values na yun ini-equate niya to something, but to the AI, yung angry or happy doesn't actually mean anything.
mhm,
It's still up to the agent or to the manager to interpret na, oy, galit na yung caller. Ano bang ginagawa mo? 'Di
mhm,
ba? The AI does not give value
mhm,
to whether it's happy or angry. It doesn't mean anything to the AI eh.
mhm,
It is to for the
yep.
agent and the manager or to interpret that yung in-identify nung AI. So tool lang siya para meron kang objective na measure. And sa game design, I think pwede rin gamitin yung AI for rules enforcement. I don't know. Ah,
Well,
ah,
Possibly.
definitely, like, parang, now that ChatGPT
Oh
can do
no.
this,
Yung
can,
mga judges
can,
pala yung mare-replace, hindi yung designers.
yung mga judger, yung mga judger ang i-replace natin. Pwede yun.
Hmm.
So,
parang
yun.
sasabihin mo, legal ba ito? Kinas ko yung ganito, target ko to, anong mangyayari?
Yeah, yeah.
Di ba?
AI judge. What's you better get on it. Yun yung
Is it
bago sa
legal for me
bago
to
maunahan. What's needs to
uh,
come up with the rules AI, judge AI.
So
uh,
so
use
yung
uh, effect? Meron sa ano eh. I recently learned about this eh. Na
Hello?
of sacrificing
Does
in
combat damage go on the stack?
sige, sige. Does combat damage
Stack.
go
Stack. On the stack.
into the stack in
Stack.
Magic the Gathering?
Magic the Gathering. I could not the damage goes. Oh, it's late.
No, 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 no,
override
no.
siya.
Tama, tama.
Diba? Goes, wait. Goes on the
No,
stack.
tama siya.
No. Tama ba? Wait lang. This means
Tama
that there's
siya. Tama
once all
siya.
players
Only
pass.
the spell and the effect goes
Oo,
on the
yung
stack.
damage hindi pero before the damage is you go to the damage phase, pwede kang magsingit ng something.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. The
Yeah, iba
Yep.
na yung
creature deals
definition, but this
combat
is correct.
damage to another
But
creature. The player
it's not
goes.
the correct
It's
The
not the
correct
correct way of explaining it.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
it's not
it
as a
doesn't
spell.
actually go on the stack anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pero tama yung sinasabi niya.
This means that the
Ha!
being the spells
ChatGPT knows how to play Magic.
once all players pass the limit of anything damage dealt and any abilities that
I
trigger.
think the ewan ko kahapon or 2 days before I asked it to make me a standard deck list. Hindi niya
Hmm.
ginawa eh.
Di
Kasi nga,
kasi nga
wala yung
2021.
bagong data.
2022
No,
winning
no,
MTGs.
it doesn't know anything after 2021. So if you
Ah,
want to test it,
ah,
you have to give it a 2020 siguro para safe.
okay.
2020 when winning MTG standard deck. All right, sige. RDW was RDW meta though in
Oh,
Red deck wins.
may deck list na. Okay, there you go. Tapos na rin ang
Teka lang.
So
Parang
yung
parang
mga
lampas
channel
yata
fireball
sa
at saka
ano
mga wala na.
Okay, tama naman.
this is just one possible version metagame and person of this. Seems pretty. I don't know if was it apat na shock though. Would
Well,
parang
Chandra's
hindi.
there.
Well,
Red deck wins
may bolt.
No, it has lightning bolts
But,
too.
mali. Lightning bolt is
Kasi
not in
hindi
standard at that
hindi
point.
No, this 2020 it is.
kulang ako
No.
ng ano.
Lightning bolt is not in standard.
No, in 2020 it was.
Yan na yung
Kasi M20, right? M20 is when they brought back. No, M20 is not 2020. Anyways, baka nga hindi na.
Anyway, so it's not perfect, but there you go. It knows how to create a deck list already. Okay. So I think we can go on about this topic for hours on end, and there's still a lot of stuff to talk about. But thank you everyone for joining. Again, excited for this 2023. A lot of big events are coming. And in terms of game design, we have a lot of work to do on our end to playtest and really crank out our game designs as quick as we could. Hopefully, utilizing ethically AI technology to build and to prototype and to rapidly come up with, to brainstorm and build tools that can help us improve our game design, and hopefully we can bring out some cool game design experiences to you guys this year. So until next time, thank you everyone for joining us. Bye bye.
Happy New
Bye.
Year.
Bye. Happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year.
Good night.
Good night.